So the best sleeping position, and then we'll talk about the difference between sleeping position and sleep posture. But the best sleeping position, as far as I'm concerned, is on your back. It's on your back for a very specific reason. But then people would say, well, no, there's a study that shows that side sleeping is the better sleeping position. And in that study, which I went and I found and I looked at it, there was a very interesting statement there. It said a statement of significance. And I'm like, what the heck is a statement of significance? They said this study is done on rats. I mean, side sleeping is the best position for a rat. Therefore, we're concluding that side sleeping is also the best position for a human. So I'm putting up a picture here of a rat spine and a human spine. The human cervical curve goes one way. Look at the cervical curve in the rat. Which way does it go?
Dr. Peter Martone, welcome to the Keto Camp podcast.
Thanks, brother. I really appreciate it. I love what you're doing, especially when we first met and you were telling me about your tribe. I'm so excited to be able to present the information to them.
The tribe and myself are very grateful that you're on the show. We made it happen after a few months of coordination and logistics. We're here, and you're the go-to person to talk about one of the most important topics when it comes to your health, sleep, which I always talk about is the foundation of health. And you could do keto and fasting and all that good stuff perfectly to the T, but if your sleep is not high quality like you teach, it's going to be very hard to heal the body. So we'll get to all that, all the cool things you're doing and different stages of sleep, etc. Before we get to that, I know your backstory. You've got a really interesting backstory. 15 years of back pain in the hospital about 5.5 years ago. So share that story. And then what led you to the point of reviewing 20,000, I believe, x-rays, and you found a common pattern. So let's start that story.
Yeah. So thank you. And thank you so much. But as we, especially in keto camp, people are really active, right? And we're so active. And I was a rock climber. I'm a competitive mountain biker, hardcore, gnarly stuff, going down some really technical terrain. And one little issue that I had is I always had back pain. I've been a chiropractor at that point for 16 years. And I was adjusting people, hunched over, adjusting people, trying to get rid of people's pain my entire chiropractic career. And I helped them. But I myself had a little hidden, secret is I had back pain my entire life. And I just attributed to, working out a lot or just being super active. And I always lived with it from a very, very young age. And it wasn't until 6.5 years ago now, I was on my mountain bike. I went off a little drop and I landed wrong. It was about a 5 or 6 foot drop. I landed wrong. And I remember feeling just like a little tweak in my lower back. And I had done that, many times before. And I was like, well, it's just, I know I'm not going to be able to bike for the next couple, next week or so. I just got to take it easy. So a little bit. So, fast forward a couple of days later, all I did was I went down, I twisted, and I picked up I can't remember, like something fell on the ground. I don't even remember what it was. I was changing, maybe my sock or something. And boom, I was done. I was out. I felt a twinge. I went down, but this time it was different. My entire leg went numb. And I'm like, oh no, I just herniated my disc. And I tried to get up off the ground and I couldn't. So I called my wife. I'm like, honey, I got to go to the emergency room, and I'm screaming in pain now. It was so bad, the pain. And she's like, all right, I'll take you. I'm like, no, you can't take me. I got to go in an ambulance. And I couldn't even straighten out. I was sitting on the couch screaming. I had all these involuntary muscle spasms. It was so bad. And then when I got to the emergency room, they hooked me up on a drug they called Dilaudid, and all my pain went away. But my head was went into this really weird, freaky place. And I remember thinking, how did it come to this? I've been a chiropractor for 15 years. I'm helping people with back pain. I know the back very, very, very well. And I myself am now in the emergency room, and I just herniated my disc. And I had also had a shoulder issue, and And I just attributed it to, like we all do, pain. I mean, just, we're very active. And I remember that there was a pattern. There was a pattern. I was seeing patients, and I knew that there was something going on with their x-ray. And I said, let me x-ray myself and see what my own spine looks for, because always the coddless kids that have no shoes. So I didn't really take care of myself too well, but I was getting adjusted. And I looked at my spine, and I had something very interesting that was going on. And I'm like, wait a second. All right, let me start reviewing x-rays. I reviewed 2,000, then 5,000, then 8,000. Then we started, the pattern became so consistent. I can look at somebody now and tell them what position they sleep in. I can tell them if they have discomfort in their lower back. I can tell them health-related issues that they have internal by just looking at their structure. So what we found was this, is that due to my lifestyle, being, hunched over all day long, adjusting people, texting on my phone, coupled by my sleeping position. Actually, I don't even call it sleeping position. It's my sleep posture was wrong. I was using a pillow in the wrong way, and it was doing this to my neck. So what ended up happening is I found that in the spine, you're supposed to have a curve in your neck, and then the muscles will be loose, and then your spine will be straight here, right? So you'll have a nice straight, let's straighten that out. Nice straight spine. But when you damage this, you lose the curve, and the body reacts by creating a scoliosis in the lower back. And that is why I had lower back pain all those years, which weakened my disc, and we'll get there and we'll tell you how that happened. So that is what ended up occurring, is I figured the pattern was sleeping position was causing the spine to misalign in the cervical curve, causing the neck to rotate. Causing the back to rotate, which weakened my disc.
How many people have lower back pain and they don't really understand that connection? So what exactly were you doing with your sleeping posture that was so wrong, and that so many people probably are doing right now?
Well, your bed, or let's call it your pillow, right? It's a rectangular support for your head. That's the definition of a pillow. It's a mold, and your spine is moldable. So I was using a pillow in the wrong position that was reinforcing a lost cervical curve. So for instance, let's look at this. If this is normal, where there's supposed to be a curve, and I sleep on my back and I put a pillow on my head and I do this, I'm flattening the cervical curve. So anything that flattens the cervical curve will cause the back to compensate. Actually, it's the psoas major muscle, and we'll get into that, will cause a psoas major muscle spasm and twist the lower back. So what I was doing is I was sleeping on my back, and I was using a pillow, and I was doing this. See what's happening to my chin?
Yeah. Your chin is being tucked in, for those who can't see.
And for those of you that sleep on your side, see what's happening to my chin?
Tucked in as well.
It's tucked in. So when you sleep with your chin tucked in, you close down your airway and you reverse the cervical curve in your neck.
Interesting. Yeah. And a lot of people are doing that. But there was a study that a lot of people reference that the best sleep posture is on your side. What's wrong with that study that everybody references nowadays?
Oh, look at you. You do your background study. You do your background stuff on me. I love it. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull out some of my notes here. Because, I still have a picture that I may present.
Oh, perfect.
All right. It's very interesting. So everybody, as the more that you are in an industry, right, and the louder your voice, the more people are going to come out and say, I don't think so. There's this study disproved this. This sleeping position isn't good. Did you listen to this study? So people kept referring, because so the best sleeping position. And then we'll talk about the difference between sleeping position and sleep posture. but the best sleeping position, as far as I'm concerned, is on your back. It's on your back for a very specific reason, and we'll go over that. But then people would say, well, no, there's a study that shows that side sleeping is the better sleeping position. It's based on something that's called lymphatic drainage, which I know many of your clients and or, people in your community probably have heard about lymphatic drainage.
Explain real quick what it is, just for those who don't.
So lymphatic drainage is if you know, when you're horizontal, your body actually heals at night. Everything swells. So when you're horizontal, gravity isn't working on you. So fluid rushes, it goes into the cells and into the brain and all the tissue. So everything swells. And then that's supposed to drain out. So there's actually a flow to that swelling, which is called lymphatic drainage. So it detoxifies the tissue, neural tissue, and different tissue in the body at a cellular level by swelling. And then once you start getting on your feet and you stop moving, that swelling goes away. So what ends up happening is there was a study that was done that said side sleeping is better for lymphatic drainage. Now, if you're looking at lymphatic drainage and that's your anchor, now let's look at that study. And in that study, which I went and I found and I looked at it, there was a very interesting statement there. It said a statement of significance. And I'm like, what the heck is a statement of significance? They said this study is done on rats. Mm-hmm. And we are concluding, based on our study on rats, that side sleeping is the best position for a rat. Therefore, we're concluding that side sleeping is also the best position for a human. So what I ended up doing is I said, all right, let's look at the two spines here. So I'm putting up a picture here of a rat spine and a human spine. Mm-hmm. The human cervical curve goes one way. Look at the cervical curve in the rat. Which way does it go?
It goes a couple ways there. And it's a big curve as well compared to the human.
That's the thoracic curve, but then we come into the neck, and the curve in the neck goes the other way. Mm-hmm. So this is called a kyphotic curve, and this is, in the human, it's called a lordotic curve. So the curve is completely opposite. And when I look at my anchor is spinal structure. Within the first thing in the human body that is developed within 6 weeks of fertilization of the egg is the nervous system. Why is the nervous system the first system to be developed? Because it is the system that controls every other development of every other system. So to me, my anchor is that the nervous system is the most important system of the human body. In the structure of your spine protects that nervous system. So the structure of your spine is critically important to be able to maintain the health and well-being of you as an individual. So my anchor isn't lymphatic drainage. My anchor, anyways, is spinal structure. So I do everything I can to improve the spinal structure, and then all else will follow.
Fascinating. We've gotten it wrong for so many years, and you discovered that. And I know you focus on laws, right? There's a few laws, like there's universal laws, but there's also laws when it comes to the human body. So could you explain a few of those laws and how that comes into play with what you teach?
Yeah. So if the body, basically, it's, a good friend of ours talks about it, not autophagy. The body adapts, right? Mm-hmm. The body adapts to everything, homeostasis. Mm-hmm. So what happens is, if I go like this, and I constantly put stress on that tissue, it will adapt by creating callus. If I exercise and I constantly stress the tissue, it will adapt by building more tissue. So the body adapts to stresses. So there's Wolff's law and Davis's law. So one law states, basically Wolff's law, if you don't use it, you lose it. So if I sit down and I sit in a chair all day long, sitting's the new smoking, your brain's going to atrophy because you're not using proprioceptive senses. Or in Wolff's law, the bone will start to atrophy because you're not using the bone. And then Davis's law states that the tissue will remold itself based on the stresses that you're putting on it, which basically means our spine or our body's like clay. So you can mold it based on the stresses that you put, that the tissue is exposed to. So if you're constantly doing this all day long, and you're texting all day long, and then you're reinforcing that by sleeping, you are going to lose the cervical curve in your neck, and your entire body is going to restructure based on where your eyes go. I forgot my third law, the writing reflex. Your body follows where your eyes go. So if I tilt my head over this way, my body will curve to bring my head straight. If I tilt my head the other way, my body will curve. If I lean my head forward, my body is going to curve. So your body and other, it's different than building a foundation in a house. The foundation, the structure of the house is dependent on the body and the foundation. Your structure is dependent on your eyes and the leveling of your eyes. So if you tend to sleep in the wrong position, you lose your curves, and your head turns, your body is going to twist, and everything compensates for it.
So lower back pain is one of those symptoms that can occur if you're losing that curve. What are some other common symptoms that occur? Maybe somebody has it right now, they don't realize it's their sleeping posture. What are some common symptoms?
Well, oh boy, this goes a lot deeper than I think people are able to grasp, right? Because this is a really tough concept to get. Because right now you're looking at me, well, we're talking about being a sleep expert. Well, before I zigzagged into the sleep industry, before that, I saw the devastating effect that the spine, the degeneration and the damage the spine can have on people's overall health and well-being, ability to lose weight, ability to have a proper functioning digestive system, ability to be able to take a deep breath, be able to be structurally dependent on asthma medication and breathing issues. So there's a nerve in your spine that comes right out below the atlas, right, with the top bone in the human body. It's called your vagus nerve. And your vagus nerve controls it's designed to turn on three systems: immune system, digestive system, and reproductive system. So those are your thrive systems. When you end up losing the cervical curve in your neck, this is the atlas up top, and you lose the cervical curve, you put this tension at this vagus nerve at the base of this occiput, and you're suppressing immune system, digestive system, and reproductive system. So the first thing that we do when we see anybody that has any autoimmune issues or breathing issues or chronic digestion issues is we address their sleeping position, and we look at the alignment of their atlas, which is being destroyed at night when they're sleeping.
This is interesting for me. I suspect that I have lost my curve, and I've used to have a lot of lower back pain. Earlier this year, I pulled my back out as well, similar to your story, not as severe. And every time I go to my chiropractor, he tells me that he feels tension right there at the atlas for me. And of course, I'm on my phone a lot. I haven't used your product yet, which we'll get to, the neck nest. I'm going to use it soon. I think I do so many things right that I don't experience a lot of those symptoms, but I'm just imagine if I get this part right, what it can do for myself. Because I don't know if you've ever, you've seen me speak and we met in person, but you never really gave me a full analysis. But I would venture to guess that I am suffering with these issues of losing that curve because I sleep with a regular pillow. I sleep on my side. I bring my chin in. So I'm going to be a great case study for you to use when I start using your products.
Yeah, that'll be great. And what I love is that you have an x-ray before using the neck nest, and then you take a 6-month follow-up x-ray after using a neck nest. Because, due to Davis's law, you can restructure, especially your age. You could restructure your cervical curve in the matter of months.
That's cool.
You just have to be diligent. See, the biggest thing that I get when I'm going to show you what proper sleep posture is. And like I said, I don't call it sleep position anymore because it's not just the position. I was sleeping on my back my entire life, after getting over a shoulder issue that I couldn't sleep on my, that's actually a good point. Remember how we said Davis's law says that the tissue will remold based on the stresses, right? So try go like most. I'd say 80% of the population are side sleepers, and I tell somebody, they're like, oh yeah, I sleep on my side, I sleep on my right side. Okay, good. So, and I stay on that side all night long, or I might go to my left, but I go, I go to I'm on my right majority of the night. Well, I asked them a question. I said, okay, so if you sleep on your side, try to lie on your side and then watch TV in that position that you fall asleep in, and tell me how long you can stay in that position. Because I can tell you, if you're a side sleeper, your arms out here, your arms under the pillow, you can only stay in this position for 20, 30 minutes. And then your body is going to be in pain and you will turn. So you're starting the night out knowing that you're going to toss and turn the entire night. So you don't get really good deep sleep. You don't get into a really restful state because your body's in pain, bringing you out of a deep sleep. Now you turn, then you go back in, then it's in pain again. You toss and turn all night long. You end up with shoulder issues because the tissue's remolding. You end up with impingement syndromes. You end up with hip issues. And then they come into me and they're like, Doc, fix me. And getting chiropractically adjusted is like this. Let's say your spine is like hardened clay because of scar tissue and arthritis and whatnot. So chiropractic is like this, taking your clay and putting it in water. It will make it more remoldable, right? It makes it more moldable. But if you still expose the clay to a different mold, you're still going to get the same reinforced patterns and you're never going to get anywhere. That was my first 15 years in practice. It might have felt good while I was getting adjusted and it was very beneficial, but it wasn't long lasting because I was still exposing it to a different mold 8 hours a night.
I want to pause this interview real quick and say thank you so much for reaching this point of the interview. If you're getting any value so far, hit the thumbs up button on this video down below and check out the subscribe button here on the channel. If you're not subscribed to the Keto Camp YouTube channel as of yet, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you're notified when we go live, release a brand new video. We do that 2 to 3 times per week. I want to take a few seconds here to get to the sponsor of this episode, which is Upgraded Formulas. If you're anything like me, you probably spend quite amount of money on supplements every single month. Wouldn't it be great if you knew you were absorbing those supplements or not absorbing those supplements? What I'm bringing you today is an exciting new opportunity to test the accuracy of the supplementation, the vitamins and the minerals, if they're actually doing what they're supposed to do. After all, you can't be a biohacker without testing, can you? In this case, I'm referring to Upgraded Formulas, upgraded hair test kit and consultation. It's very easy to do this test. It's a kit that's sent to you. You would just use hair from your body. It could be head, it could be body, it could be pubic hair. You send in your hair and then you get a consultation and you review which supplements you should be taking versus which supplements you shouldn't be taking. How well are you absorbing that? And this will be a great way to discover why you just don't feel so well. Even if you're taking all these supplements, but you still feel tired, you still have symptoms. This will give you the exact picture on what you should do next to correct that issue. I love Upgraded Formulas. I had Barton Scott on my podcast, the Keto Camp podcast before. We have an exclusive offer for you to get 10% off your hair mineral analysis kit and any of their amazing supplements, which are highly absorbed. Head to upgradedformulas.com. Use the coupon code BEN10, that is BEN10, at checkout to get 10% off today. We will also drop a link down below for you. That's upgradedformulas.com. Use the coupon code BEN10. All right, let's get back to this incredible interview.
That's a great analogy. So for me, when I had my lower back issues this year, I got x-rays done and it showed degeneration of my spine.
Which level? C5, C6?
I don't remember. I would have.
It would be C5, C6 because you've lost the cervical curve in your neck. Then you would pick it up with a low back scoliosis, and then you'll degenerate L5 and S1 or L4 and L5, and that is all manageable because you can rehydrate your disc.
Interesting. They also discovered that I had a hip misalignment.
That's coming from the head being off to one side, and then the hip just shifted. Huh. So it's compensating for forward head posture.
And then I went up to Dr. John Lawrence's place in Sarasota, Florida. He did an assessment of me, and he did a ultrasound, and he discovered that I had fatty infiltration of my multifidi muscles.
Mhm.
So he did some treatment on me for that. Do you think both or all of these issues are a result of my poor sleeping posture?
It's all compensation. The body doesn't make mistakes. It adapts to stress. And what we need to do, instead of treating every ache and pain under the sun, we need to start understanding what is the body adapting to, and then reverse that. And 90% of the time, it's loss of proprioception, and which is balance and awareness in space, due to too much sitting, due to forward head position postures, and then loss of the structure of the cervical curve.
Fascinating. Okay, so for me, I track my sleep. I know you're a fan of Oura Ring. You implement it with your course, and you do a really good job assessing all the data. Do you still use the Oura Ring, by the way?
Absolutely, yeah. It's actually charging right now.
Yeah, so I get good sleep, and I do a lot of things right. I have a chili pad. I have a $8,000 bed. I have a lot of things that I do right. With that being said, my sleep is good, not great. I don't use the neck nest. I am waking up probably 5 times every single night when I'm looking at my Oura Ring. I get about 2 hours of deep sleep, about an hour and a half of REM sleep. But I'm curious to see what will happen now when I make this change and adjust my sleeping posture, use your neck nest. What do you think will happen? Will I be able to sleep throughout most of the night? Should I expect that?
Yeah. So, one of the, there are a bunch of variables when it comes to sleep and waking up and not waking up. One of the issues, like we said, is if your body is in discomfort, you're going to wake up at least at a subconscious level throughout the night. And then the other issue is how much deep sleep are you getting? And you said you're getting about 2 hours of deep sleep?
2 hours of on average every night. Yeah.
All right. And then what time do you get your deep sleep? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, of course. It's the first 2 to 3 hours of falling. I go to bed at about 9:30, 10 p.m. pretty consistently every night.
And then the last question I would ask you is, what is your heart rate variability scores in the morning? Do you know what your max, like your max HRV would be, or anything like that?
So my average right now, it's about 60. A year and a half ago, it was around 40. So it's gradually increasing. The max, I'll tell you, the max last night happened right when I fell asleep. So let's see, readiness happened at around 11:30 p.m.
Okay. And what was the max?
110. The average was 63. The max was, where do I see that? I'm trying to look for that.
Max would be on the readiness score. If you click on readiness. And then they click on the HRV, and then the HRV will tell you. But that's okay.
Okay.
So that's the key to the castle, is HRV.
Let's talk about that. What is HRV for those who don't know?
So heart rate variability is something that happens. So your body has 2 systems. You have your thrive systems and then your survive systems. The thrive systems are the ones that we talked about, which are reproductive system, digestive system, immune system. Usually when somebody has a hormonal imbalance, they also have a digestion issue, or they have skin issues. It's all tied into the thrive systems. Your survive systems, which are engaged to keep you alive and survive, which mostly are engaged in awake hours. So your survival systems are like your core body temperature, your musculoskeletal system, your respiratory system, your cardiovascular system. Those are, if you're going to run from a tiger, your body needs to get out of there. So all of the blood needs to go to the muscles, and the heart needs to be pumping really, really regular. When your body is growing and healing and nurturing, that typically happens at night. And your heart rate is very irregular, believe it or not. It sounds kind of counterintuitive, but the theory is that your body is more ready for whatever happens. The survival is this happening right now, and your body needs to consistently know how the heart's beating to get the specific amount of blood to every area. So it needs to count on that blood flow. So HRV measures that, it's an algorithm that measures the variability of the heart and can give you a score. So the more variable your heartbeat is in general, the healthier you are and the more power you will have because your body is replenished. The more lack of variability that you have, the more your body is in survival and you're draining your energy system down. So when people ask me how much sleep do I need, I always go back to them and say, how much energy, how do you feel when you wake up in the morning? And do you track your HRV? Yes, I do. I feel unbelievable when I wake up in the morning. What's your HRV score? Bang, you're good. You're like, I'm not feeling so good. Here's my HRV score. So everything is okay. We need to do what we can to either improve deep sleep, to get more length of sleep, and we have to figure out where the problem is with sleep. But the key is being able to get a higher HRV or a higher heart rate variability score.
So to find your average, which is going to be unique to that person for many reasons, and then work on increasing that is what you're saying.
Correct, yeah. And there are different things like Polar makes an HRV. I think Apple's going to be one of the watches is going to start doing HRV from what they said, or I think you can get an app for that. I use the Oura Ring, the Whoop does it. So there are different things that monitor HRV.
So my fiance, Natasha, her average HRV is 160.
Yeah.
She's not a professional athlete. I think there's a genetic component. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So then what I would do with that is I'd measure, and that's just probably based on using the Oura Ring, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So you use different because there are different calculations that they're averaging. So you would test it against another piece of equipment. And then you make, then you see, because it's whatever your HRV is, it's the differential from that HRV, which is what's important.
Correct.
For the individual. So it could just be how her heart's beating in the calculation that's being used.
She also gets about 3.5 hours of deep sleep each night, but she gets less than 60 minutes of REM sleep each night. So
she's high anxiety. So her brain needs to kind of recharge a little bit, which is not happening.
Okay. So what are some ways for her to increase her REM?
REM's a tough one because, that's what we're doing right now. We have a formula right now to improve deep sleep. Now we're looking at a formula to improve REM sleep. And the formula that we did to create deep sleep, you can't, this is one thing that I tell my patients and my clients all over the world, is I say, you cannot just take a supplement in a product and expect that that's going to cure everything, because it's not going to. There's a deep sleep lifestyle you have to live.
Yeah.
So I tell patients, a half an hour before, 3 hours before bed, don't eat more than 300 calories. A half an hour before bed, take 2 deep sleep and see how you do. And then sleep with your arms and your hands out of your covers. So your body.
Yeah, I heard you say that. And I was like, oh, so what you said is cover your torso, but have your arms and your legs out. Why do you think that's beneficial?
So when we were doing our research in being able to get really good deep sleep, we coupled it with research that's already done. So your highest core temperature, especially when your sympathetic nervous system's kind of at its max and then kind of diving back down, is right around 8 to 9 p.m. at night. Your body needs to cool 2 degrees before it gets into deep sleep. So in your greatest deep sleep needs to be between midnight and 2 or 3 o'clock, because you have an energy spike and you want to be in deep sleep before that energy spike. So your core temperature needs to cool very, very rapidly in order to get really good, deep, solid sleep. And I want that core temperature to drop before midnight. So you only have 2 hours of sleep to be able to drop that core temperature. So we use something in our deep sleep product called L-arginine. What it does is it dilates your blood vessels. So if you dilate your blood vessels, it's like a radiator. You don't want to have your hands and your feet under the covers, because your body does not care about your hands and your feet. You can stick them in an ice bath for 15 minutes and decrease inflammation. You put your torso in an ice bath for 15 minutes, you'll die of hypothermia.
Yeah.
Right? So your body only cares core temperature from here to here. That's where
called
you really.
that's called hunter's reflex. Have you heard of that before?
Mm-mm.
When you jump into a cold body of water, the body doesn't care about your extremities, like you said, so it'll prioritize the torso, and then you get this blood flow rush into the torso, and then you get out of that cold body of water, and that blood rushes back to the extremities. It's like a vascular massage called hunter's reflex.
I love it. Yeah, freeze thaw, right?
What?
If you're a skier, freeze thaw, your toes will freeze, and then when you take off your boot, it's like all the blood's going back down because it prioritizes. It doesn't want cold blood down there cooling down the core temperature, so it pulls all the blood back up into the system to keep this warm. That's all it cares about. So let's use that at night. So let's keep this warm as you want to. But keep your arms and your hands out, and then radiate the core temperature, and everything will cool.
So people who wear socks to bed, not a good idea, is what I'm hearing.
No, and that's that. There are some other. So this is so good. I'm so glad that you said that. There are other professionals that recommend socks to bed, right?
I've seen that, yeah.
Right, and now there's something in the body. In another thing that I have, an anchor, is something that's called allostatic load, right? Allostatic load means the body, basically the body's going to prioritize its energy based on keeping the body alive, right? So like if you're running from a tiger, your body doesn't care about your reproductive system. If you're
pooping
or digestive system, anything. That's why you don't eat and then go for a swim. You'll throw it up. Mm-hmm. So the body has a hierarchy of systems that it cares about. So if you put socks on, right, and you put socks on, and then you put gloves on, whatever, I don't know, and then you keep all of this exposed. Remember, what did we tell you the body wants to do? It wants to maintain this. So with the professionals that are talking about, they only understand that the body core temperature needs to drop. They're not taking into consideration the allostatic load, because one of the survival systems, like I told you, is body core temperature. It will suppress immune system, digestive system, and reproductive system, all of your thrive systems, keeping the body warm at night. And you don't want that. You want to keep the body warm with covers, temperature regulate out your arms and hands so the body can use the energy for the immune system, reproductive system, and digestive system.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. And you mentioned that product, Deep Sleep, which is a new product you just launched to help.
Today.
Right there. Today, yeah, perfect timing. Well, it'll be a few weeks when this interview airs, but we'll put a link for that down below. By the way, the link is necknest.com/ketocamp. That'll be on the page. But the main thing that we're talking about here, which we didn't really go into detail because you discovered the problem and now you created the solution, which is your neck nest, which is so popular. I mean, you're having even trouble keeping it on the shelf because of how so many people want this product. It's changing so many lives. I'm super excited to get it very soon and do this experiment. Talk about the neck nest. How did you develop it? How does it work? And how do you use it?
So basically, I remember when I was a kid, life leaves little anchors. I talk about anchors all the time, but life leaves clues. And I remember watching when I was designing it and understanding that I needed to reestablish the curve in my neck. And I know that the spine is like clay, so I need to remold my clay. And I figured, listen, if I'm on my back for 8 hours a night, that would be the best way to be able to do it. And then I remembered watching the show Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and they used a block of wood underneath the neck in order to sleep. And I'm like, wait, that's not a pillow. What the heck was that block of wood for? And I remembered hiking. I used a sneaker once under my neck to be able, in the woods, doing a 3-day hike as a pillow because you just can't get comfortable. So I designed the neck nest like that. It's not a pillow. It's not a support for your head. It's designed to basically hug your neck. And when somebody purchases a neck nest, there's a break-in period. So I will show you, and we explain all this stuff in our Sleep Quest and on the website necknest.com. You're able to see it. But I'm going to show you. And when I put you into this sleep posture, it's not sleeping position. Sleeping position's different because, remember, head's down if you're sleeping on your back. It's closing down your airways. You're not going to be able to breathe. And we teach people airway management in the Sleep Quest, and how do you deal with mouth opening up and becoming a mouth breather. There are so many different techniques and things that happen. But what we need to do is, I guess we need to make the agreement. Can we agree that the nervous system is the most important system in the human body?
Mm-hmm.
That's agreement one. And then can we agree that the spine protects that central nervous system? And it's so important to be able to have the spine in alignment to be able to have a proper functioning nervous system. So that's our core. Then whatever happens with sleep, I'm going to put you into the position to fix your spine, and then just deal with it and whatever comes up. Your mouth opens up, you snore, you're only in that position for 1 hour a night. That's all I really need you in. I only need you in this position for 1 to 2 hours a night, then do whatever you want in the middle of the night.
Oh, really? Matter. That's it. 1 to 2 hours.
Yeah, and I'm kind of lying to you, because I know if you just think 1 to 2 hours, you'd be like, oh, I can do that. And then after 3 months of doing that, next thing you are back sleep, and you're like, how did this happen?
Understood.
But 1 to 2 hours to get going. All right. So I'm lying with love. That's lying with love.
Yes.
So you take a neck nest, right? And once it's broken in, I have people pull it up and angle it, put it under their neck, and sleep just like that.
There you go. And so your body is completely straight, is what I'm saying.
It's complete. I can put a TV on my ceiling. I know you might have mirrors on your ceiling, but I could put a TV on my ceiling. I could stay in this position the entire night, not move, because my body is neutral.
You mentioned that you could put a glass of water on your stomach and you'd wake up in the morning and that glass of water will still be there, huh?
I don't toss and turn at all, zero. I don't move at all night long, because my body is in a neutral position.
So when you check your Oura ring, it shows no waking up in the middle of the night for you?
Nope, zero.
Wow. That's what I want to get to. I haven't had that.
It shows restlessness sometimes because my arms move, but I don't move. Like my arms will be here. If my arms like this, circulations get cut off, so my arms will move. But like you said, your body doesn't care about your arms.
Right.
It really, it just it cares about your core.
So for those who are listening and not watching here, it kind of looks like two pillows in one. It's longer. The top is kind of round there. And you just lie on your back. You put it underneath your, what's that area called? The atlas? Is that where you're putting it?
You put it under your neck. Basically, picture a roll, right? It's a more comfortable rolled up towel going under your neck.
Okay. And then there's going to be an adjustment period. I'm sure you've seen this before with somebody like, oh, I can't get used to it. So what's I know you said 1 to 2 hours to get to that and then eventually build more, but how do you get started? If you're having trouble adapting to it, what do you recommend?
1 to 2 hours a night. That's it.
Well, so not even 10 minutes to start. And then build? Okay.
No. Start with an hour.
Okay.
The more 45 minutes to an hour, the more degeneration or the harder that clay is in the spine, right? The more scar tissue there is, the harder it is going to be to mold. And then once you start lying on your back, people are gonna have back problems, because their back goes into extension, and you're restoring the curve in your lower back too. So we just need to begin with the end in mind, right? We know what we want, and then we build the lifestyle habit in to be able to get what we want. It's like, okay, I want big biceps. I got to go to the gym and work out my biceps. Oh my God, it kills. But I want big biceps. Okay, I want better health. I want to sleep through the night. I want to have more energy and be more well rested. I want a 30% improvement in my HRV. I want more performance. Okay, good. You want that? You can do that. I mean, almost every chronic disease known to man is tied into sleep deprivation. I'm doing a study right now on COVID. Most of the people that either get COVID or that COVID dives really deep in them, they're sleep deprived.
I believe it.
Yeah. And so you begin with the end in mind, and then you implement the lifestyle habit of sleeping 1 hour a night with the neck nest underneath your neck.
So you sell the neck nest on your website. When we were talking before we hit record, you said you wanted to give the keto campers a special deal. And it's actually a really fantastic deal. You shared with me the entire package. So what are you offering them? What is it? I think there was 3 things you're offering, right?
Yeah, I think the neck nest isn't just a product. I don't believe in just buying a product or even like deep sleep, just getting a product and that's it. The product's going to work and it's going to help me. It's going to help you, but you need to know how to use it. You need to know, what foods to stay away from. You need when you come into the neck nest family, I want them to come into our community also. And that's what I'm offering. I'm offering a community which is called the Sleep Quest, which is a 30-day sleep program where they get 1 email a day for 30 days. And then it's also going to be an online platform. And then we also do these Zoom calls once a month where they can ask me questions, that they can interact. So we have a really active sleep community. And that's $199. We're giving that to them for purchasing a neck nest. And then also, if you notice, the neck nest, you can't just use your regular pillowcase. It's not a pillow for your head. I mean, a pillow for your bed. It's a pillow for your neck. So you can't just use a regular pillowcase. So it has to come with this custom. You have to get this custom pillowcase, and I'm adding that in also. So if for 3 easy installments of $9.99. But so we're giving them the Sleep Quest, the pillowcase cover, and the neck nest, all for a special, keto camp
price.
deal.
Yeah, and the retail on that I think is like $324. And what does that special deal come out to for everybody?
$107.99.
That's sweet. That's a sweet deal. So it's necknest.com/ketocamp. Camp is spelled with a K. We also put a link in the notes of this interview. You also said, here's the quote that I wrote down when I was getting ready for the interview. Quote, changing nothing but your sleep position or posture will increase heart rate variability by 30%. You stand by that still?
Absolutely.
Wow.
I've had so many testimonials, especially people with the Whoop and in using the Oura Ring. By just changing their position alone and getting a good, deep quality sleep, it improves their HRV by about 30%.
All right. Well, I'm going to be a case study. Mine's around 60 on average. How long, if I'm saying I'm using it every night consistently, how long into this journey should I expect to see?
Well, it really depends on how long it takes for your body to get used to being on your back and not tossing and turning. There are a lot of variabilities to that. I would say if you have degeneration in your spine, you have a little bit of hardened clay, but you get adjusted so your clay is dipped in water. Mm-hmm. So you start working with it, and then I would say anywhere from 2 to 3 months.
Cool. I'll see if I could do some X-rays too before I even start using it to compare. You said 6 months after, do another set of
6 months
X-rays.
after, yeah.
Last thing I want you to share before we wrap it up is you have a gift. Your gift is to look at somebody and know exactly what's going on with them, symptoms, etc. I want you to do that to me the next time we see each other. I want to use your gift on me. But the story I want you to share is with Dr. Mercola that you shared when he interviewed you. You also shared it at Dr. Pompa's conference. What happened when you saw him at a conference a few years ago and you had a conversation with Dr. Joseph Mercola?
So Dr. Mercola is a good friend of mine now. And so I was eating some lectin. I was eating some cashews. And he's like, you can't eat that because, this got all lectins in it. And he goes, and I go, well, can I tell you something about you? And he's like, well, what do I need to be adjusted? And I'm like, no, you got this going on, this going on, this going on, this, and, probably have a bunion on your right foot. And he took off his shoe. He's like, how do you know that? And it's because everything is connected. And when you understand how everything's connected, and you're looking at whether you're having this first symptom or that first symptom, symptoms in pain is a gift. It's a gift that nobody wants. So instead of suppressing the gift, we got to understand that our body's adapting to something. And if you haven't found the answer that you're looking for, you need to look at a different person that looks at it a little bit differently. And that is, that's kind of what brought me into the sleep industry, just looking for different answers.
Yeah. Now you're Dr. Sleep Right. That's your nickname. Peter, thank you for your brilliance. Thank you for coming on here, educating the keto campers and creating an awesome product that I can't wait to use. love your energy, love your experience, love what you're all about. And where else can they go check you out? What are some of your social media, and mention your website again?
Yeah, so it's necknest.com. There's going to be a new website that we're developing, drsleepright.com. That's in development right now. And that's really where all of the education and all of the new products that we bring to the industry will live. The Neck Nest is a product-focused website, but really the sleep education is going to live at drsleepright.com.
Awesome. And we'll get your social media handles and put it down below in the notes as well. Thank you. And then last call to action, if you want to get that deal, it's necknest.com/ketocamp. So Peter, thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll do round 2. Maybe we'll record it in person where you could give me a full in-person assessment during the recording. But I appreciate you, and I had a blast with you today, brother.
Awesome. Thanks, bro.